The last time you saw the water tower it was just covered in brickwork, but now I've done a little bit of detailing. So I've got the corrugated iron on this side, and I've also weathered the brickwork a little bit. On this side I've put the roller shutter in and left it a little bit visible at the bottom. At the back end I don't have the door in yet, I've still got to put the door in here, but I've got all the lintels in as well. And on the other side, well, that's just brickwork, that's just the brickwork side. So the next stage is to put on the water tower top, which is the actual water container itself. I've made a development for the water tank itself now, so the next thing I'm going to just cut that out, glue all the little tabs together and make the water tower and put it on top, and then I'll get back to you with that one. As you can observe, I've now got the water tank fitted on top of the tower, and I've actually weathered it, and it's a different sort of system that I've used to weather it this time. If you want to check it out, it's called Spice Up Your Model Railway, and it's an experimental thing that I've done. So if you want to check it out, please look that up. The next thing for me to do will be to make the little piece that sits on top, and that's the one that holds all of the works for the water itself. So it's the treatment plant and the actual mechanism that makes the water come out of the chute. And the chute I haven't put on yet either, so that's another thing I've got to add to it. As you can see, I've now got the foundations done for the build-up of the track. It's just basically cardboard which I've glued down into place, and it's feathered off a little bit towards the edges as it was in real life. So what I'm going to do is finish this off with, I'm going to put paper mache all around the edges everywhere and make it smooth, and then I'll get back to you and I'll show you what that looks like later. We've reached another milestone now. What I've done, all that cardboard that I had in there, I've now covered over with paper mache. And if you don't know how to do paper mache, I've done a tutorial on it before, so just look it up and you'll find it's on one of the Lee's engine sheds. It's one of these tutorials and it tells you all about paper macheing. So the next job is going to be on this, is to paint it, and I need to paint it black, and it's going to be something that looks like it's been there for 50, 60, 70 years. It's just trodden down ash, coal, little bits of oil, grease, whatever, and I'm going to make it as realistic as possible. So I'll get back to you when I've done this, when I've got that painted up. Just a very quick interjection here now. As you can see, I've got the water tower in place now, and it's got its little structure on the top. So when I've got it painted, I'll show you how to scribe that in place, and we'll get it set in its final position. Now that I've got the coal tower more or less sitting in its finished position, and I've got the floor done now and painted, it's not finished but it's started. As you can see, I've got the whole of the water tower done now, and the tank on the top with a little extension building up above it. So now I've got to somehow get it scribed to the floor, and what I can do is I can take a steel rule here and eye it through to see if it's level or not. I can also do it this way. I may actually be able to, yeah, I can stand it up there, and if we look from the side you can see it's not too far out actually, that is it. I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you how to scribe that now. You can see now, I'm not going to move this now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to just run a pencil line around here, and I can actually take something that's a little bit like a piece of wood to build it up a little bit. So done. Not that difficult, is it? So I'm actually going to scribe it now, and I'm going to use this pencil here as a scribe mark. I'm going to go all across this now, marking it so that it'll end up looking like it should do. I'm also going to do the same at the back. You won't be able to see this from here. I'll see if I can get it in a position where you can see it. Actually, I probably can. So what I'm going to do, still in the same position, I'm going to use that as a guide. Now I can't see what I'm doing now here, but I'm going to just follow that along. I'm holding it level with the piece of wood, so I'm raising the pencil up slightly, and I'm just going to mark it along there, and that'll give me a guide as to where I need to cut it. So let's have a look how that turned out. Yes, I can just about make that out now. So I'm going to cut it now, we'll see what happens. I marked the position on the ground where it's sat, and I've checked that it's parallel to this, and it's parallel this way as well, and it's got sufficient room for the engines and carriages and whatever to get round the corner. So this is what I've done at this side, and this is how I've got it scribed down at this side. So you can see when it's marked on the ground there, you can actually do it a little bit by trial and error, take a little bit more off each time until you get it as a good fit to the floor. It's not imperative that it has to be absolutely perfect, because we can fill it up with vegetation and stuff afterwards if there's any gaps, but there shouldn't be if you just do it nice and easily, work on the principle, take a little bit off at a time, and then it should get there eventually. So I'm quite pleased with that now. So I'm ready for actually fitting that into position. You can see what I've done now, just to fill up that little bit of space that I had there. I've filled it in with a little bit of crushed coal. So that'll build up the thing, and when it gets mixed in with the rest of the coal on this area, you're not going to be able to see that. I've used the same trick at the front end. You can see I've just laid down little bits of crushed coal there, and I'm going to put more crushed coal down here, and also at the back on all this surface as well. So it'll all mix in the end. I'm quite pleased with the way the water tank turned out, because as you can see, to me it does look like rusted metal. Now I'm going to do some finishing off here now. So I'll get rid of any extraneous vehicles, and I'm not going to bother with messing around with putting this into a container and spreading. I'm just going to put it direct on there. It's another layer, and I'm just going to dab it in. This is just plain ordinary black paint, which is an acrylic paint. Come on out, that's it. So these are the little bits of coal that I had before. So I'm going to do that again now, and I'm going to just drop them straight into this mix here. So I'm putting it on quite thick, it's cheap enough anyway, and I'm making sure to keep my marks on there so that I know exactly where the water tower is going to go when it's finished. So now this is something that I made myself. I actually went out and found, I thought it was a piece of coal, I'm not sure it was, but I've crushed it all up, and I've come out with this blackened powder here. There's one or two big chunks of coal there and all in it, but I'm trying to get the really crushed fine stuff here, because I want it to look well worn when it's finished. I'm just randomly sprinkling this, because it's almost finished now. This is the final touch really. I've just got to apply somewhere. I've got to find a way of getting some shiny little bits on this. And what I've used in the past is Gorilla Glue, but the clear, the perfectly clear, not the stuff that expands, because I find that terrible really. Well, that's it, I'm done there now. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll see what it's like when it's dried. And then my wife's gone out shopping. I've asked her to pick up some nail varnish, clear nail varnish. I'm going to do a little experiment with it to see whether it'll work to give a shiny solution. If you look here closely, what I'll do, I'll just move the camera in to show you what I've done earlier. If you look really closely at this, you can see that it's a very, very shiny surface. I'll try and get it, there you go, see that? Now that just looks like an oil slick to me. And that's the one that I used the Gorilla Glue on. It was just plain, clear Gorilla Glue, and I just spread it on, spread it out, and that's how it finished. So it's excellent if you want to use that for oil stains and oil slicks and stuff like that. I added more on it, but unfortunately I've got rid of it. There was a lot on this original line that came around here, but can you see that rough surface now on the part that's at the back of the water tower? That's how I wanted it to look. It's just a rough exterior, and I'm going to put all sorts of stuff on there yet, and there'll be a little bit of vegetation around, but I'm quite pleased with the way it's looking now. Looks like an old slag heap, doesn't it now? I forgot to mention that I forgot out about the leather hose for the water to come out of the water tank, so I didn't have any straws or anything. I decided I'd try and make one out of string. So what I've done, I've got this piece of string, I've bent it to a right angle, and I've weighted it down. Again, my trusty old iron's been brought to the fore, and when it's dried I'm going to see if I can make that do, because it may just do the job when it's painted black. It's supposed to be a leather hose, so we'll see when it's dried. So look what my wife brought back for me. Now it's not often that I ask her to go out to get me some makeup, but I really wanted this nail varnish because I'm about to use it in a great experiment. Let's see if we can make some oil slicks. I'm going to remove the water tower for a minute, and let's see what we can do with this nail varnish now. Let's see what happens. I'm glad she didn't bring me red. It smells really strong. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let that set, and then we'll come back when it's set and we'll see what it looks like. Well, this is how it turned out. It doesn't look too bad actually. It's not, I wouldn't say it's not quite as good as the other one that I used. See that? You can see how that reflects really well, and it's really thick. There, the nail varnish is much thinner, but you can see it's got a shiny surface to it, so I'm going to use it anyway. And I've also taken this advantage now to just put some more coal over this area, because this is going to be an area without much vegetation. And I've also given it a wash of very, very thin acrylic glue as well. That's PVA glue. So I've just washed that over there. I've added a little bit more coal to it now, and it's more or less done then. So when I've got the water tower and I've got its chute on, I'm ready to glue it down, and then this is completed. Next stage will be building the new coaling facilities. Okay, the glue's finally set on this little experiment now, so I've got to find a way of putting this onto here. It's going to go into this side here, and I've worked out that it needs to go around about here for the height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of straw here, and what I will do is I'll just straighten it out a little bit, make it round just like that. You can see that it's a very tiny little thing, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this down here, put that in position there, which is where it's going to go. Before that, I'm going to take this string, and you'll notice it's got a little bend at the end, so I'm going to feed that into there like so, but I've just got too much stuff here, so I'm just going to chop a big block off this lot now and discard the surplus. And now what I want to do is to put this into here and glue it in place, and the difficulty will be holding it in place, but I'm going to make sure that's down there as well, and then I'll cut this off to the right length later. So I think if I put some glue inside here, inside the actual bit of straw, it's going to glue it down, and it's going to give a something for the string to go into as well. Sorry I have to put my hand over it, it's very difficult. See how it's moving? Right, so now then I've got to put this into here. I'm sure that glue will ooze out. Yes, it has done already, see. Right, so now I've got to try and hold that there somehow while it sets. If I'm lucky, I might just get away with leaving it like that. In fact, I think I'll do that. I'm going to leave that to dry now, and then I'll come back to it after it's set and cut off the surplus, and then we can paint it. So it's almost there. You can just see at this edge as well. I'll just turn it around and hope I don't disturb it. I've got the door in as well now, so there has to be a door in this side. So from here I've got a flight of stairs to make as well, and then it's completed. I just want to show you how the oil thing worked out as well. So this is the original oil stain that I had with the Gorilla Glue, and this is a new one that I put in here, and as you can see, it's not worked out too bad at all. You see it shiny? If I just move it over, you can see the reflection in it shining, can't you? And also there's another one down here. Yeah, again you can see that shining if I move the camera around a little bit. And this was the original one that I did, and I added a little bit more to it. So again, that looks pretty much like oil. And also I want to just show you how this little bit of a yard here finished off. After I glued it up down and I put the wash of glue over it. So it's all well and truly compacted now, that, and I think that looks quite good. Once I get the water tower in there, I think it's going to look great. So it's so close now, it's unbelievable. And now that it's dried, I just need to cut it off to length. Nothing hard and fast with this. Just going to cut that off there. Can always take a little bit more off afterwards. And that now is the funnel. They were rather flimsy things anyway. I don't think that's going to be too bad actually when I get it painted black. So I've just got to put these stairs in now. So I've come up with a little idea for this. I'll just run it past you. I have the remains of a laser cut footbridge that I used, and these are the negatives from the stair stringers. So obviously I would like the positives back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up here and across here, so I can take this small piece itself here, and I'm going to stick that onto some cardboard. I'm going to see if I can turn a negative into a positive. So what I will do is I'll do that little bit of work and get it all glued down, and I'll come back to you and explain how I'm going to cut it out. All in all, the water chute didn't turn out too bad at all. Just got to get the steps done now to the back, and then it's finished. I managed to get a pair of strings glued down onto this card now, so I made sure that they were a pair, and it's going to be cut out now, and then I'll show you what it's like after it's cut out. So you have to do a little bit of thinking about it, but I'm hoping this is going to work out and it'll save me a lot of work in making a flight of steps. What I have now is a nice pair of strings, and you can see the little shelves there which the threads are going to go on. I'm just going to cut some cardboard threads and assemble them together. I've left that little point on at the top up here. You can see this little bit here. That's going to be a handrail, so I need to put another handrail on at the bottom. So I'll show you what it's like when I've got the threads glued on. Well, I have made a start on the steps now. They're a little bit finicky, as you can see, and as you can see I'm having to slide the threads in there between those little final little sticking out bits of wood there. So it's going to work in the end. I've definitely made a positive out of a negative there. So I'll show you the finished product when it's finally completed. I've had to grab a pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, and just slide them in individually. The top thread is a little bit out of flunter, so I'm going to change that. So it'll look well when it's done. A really useful tip here. Never throw these things away. When you've done like a laser cut model or something, you've got left with all these things that you've broken things out of. Well, you know what? There's lots of uses for these. Look at these lovely little thin sticks of wood there that you can use on your models. So just take care not to throw these things away. And because of finding these, I decided not to use cardboard for the steps either on the stairs here. So I've now got that finished. I've got the steps in, and they're made of wood. And I've also got on the side here, I've just got the newel posts up, so I've just got a handrail to go in there. There was one. So when I've got that done, it's ready for painting, and it's ready for levelling up and gluing in position, and then it can go on to the model railway layout. So I'm quite pleased with that. The sad thing is that nobody's going to see this side. It's going to be hidden from view completely because you can't get round the back. But if you're making it authentic, you've got to make it authentic, haven't you? So I'm going to get painting now, and then I'm going to glue it all together, stick it on the model railway, and Bob's your uncle. Success at last. I finally got the stairs done and painted, and you can see I sorted out the platform and everything, the landing, and it looks pretty good to me. I'm just going to twist it around now so you can see the whole thing. So that is the side that is just brickwork, and we got this is the front side that'll be viewed from the shed side, and you notice I've weathered it all up and everything now. And this is the side, this won't be seen either. This is the side where the actual water chute is, and then we're back around at the step side again. So it worked out pretty much as good as I could have expected, really. The stairs are a bonus because it saved me a tremendous amount of work by using those negatives from the laser cut stuff. So it's a very useful tip that I will be using that again. Now the next thing is the best of all. I get to insert it onto the layout. Now I may be just like a little bit of a contortionist here, but I've managed to get my hand round the back of this camera so you can see the side that nobody sees. Now you might think it's a lot of work to go to get that into that position, but I know nobody sees it, but the thing is it's more true to life, and I know it's there, and that's the important bit. Well, this is it. This is what we've all been waiting for. I've got the water tower now glued in place. I've checked it with a steel rule to check that it's plumb and it's horizontal and it lines up and everything, and I've checked that all the locomotives and everything pass without any obstruction. So that's it. It's in its final position. It's glued down, and I'm pretty good feeling now that I've got that out of the way. And the next thing, this completes this video, so the next thing is to build the new coaling stage here, which is going to go on those two new lines that I put in. You can see I've also got all the back road and everything now all completed, and we've got some litter in there and all sorts of scrap iron and stuff like that. So I'm pretty pleased with that now. We're getting back to how Lee's engine shed should look.